Hey everybody, it's Alzay Calhoun with Coveted Consultant. I'm a little tardy today. A couple of things that were back to back, and I got a little behind schedule. So I appreciate you if you were waiting, and we're now here. We're now here. So let's go ahead and get to work. Today is going to be a lead generation conversation. We're going to talk about lead generation, the importance of it. We're gonna dig a little bit in on that topic. As you can tell, I sound a whole lot better. I feel a whole lot better. My voice is way closer to normal now. I still got some water here in the event that I need it, but feeling good. So, hey Nelson, good to see you, sir. Good to see you. So here's where I want to start today. How about this? The lack of lead generation is killing your business. The lack of lead generation is killing your business. There are a lot of things that we discuss in the Facebook group, which, by the way, if you're not in the group, I think it's to your advantage to join the group. There are a lot of things that we talk about in the Facebook group. And many of those issues boil down to the inability to generate leads for your own business, the inability to create new conversations with past or current clients or prospective clients on a regular basis. Because you can't do that, so many other things end up happening, and they're painful. There are a variety of things that are painful. But there's a major stumbling block that a lot of agencies come across, and it relates very specifically to lead generation. So you got to acknowledge that for your business. You got to acknowledge that this is not some other high-minded issue, that it's not the blog post of the day, trick, hack, secret of the day. But you got to be honest and just go, you know what? We don't know how to generate leads. Not for our own business. Maybe, this is important too. Sometimes the way that you generate leads for your client's business doesn't work well for your business. There are a lot of different business models out there, and you might know how to generate leads or generate new business for that kind of business. But for your own agency, it's a different kind of process, and you don't have one. So there may even be you may argue with yourself about that. Like, you say, I know how to generate business. I know how to do this. We do it for them all the time, but we can't seem to do it for us. And sometimes that's a business model difference. Your business and your client's business are not the same, and therefore they require a different strategy. So, Emily, get us started here with the first agenda item. Thanks, Nelson. Hey, Emily, good to see you here. So we're getting ourselves going. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the typical agency experience. I have this conversation a lot. Here's the typical agency experience. You decide to open up your business. You decide to open your agency and do done-for-you services for other businesses. And you reach out to your network. You reach out to your friends, family, past coworkers, past business partners, etc. You reach out to your current network, and you get some opportunity. People send you a lead or two. You have a conversation or two or 10. You get a client or two or 10, and you make a couple of thousand or 10 or 100,000. You make some really good money. It works. And then that pool of people dries up, or the opportunities inside that pool of people dry up. And when those opportunities dry up, you have no idea what to do next. And when those opportunities dry up, you end up depending on the hack of the day, right? You're bleeding out, right? You're watching money get spent every month in your business because you've got costs. So you watch your money bleed out of your company on a regular basis, right? You watch clients just walk away. Clients you have served for 6 months, clients you have served for 9 months, clients you have served for 2 or 3 years. So start to walk away because they grow on, right? They grow on. The next thing is necessary. So you're watching opportunities leave, but no opportunities are coming. And so now in that situation, you are chasing the internet, looking for the next opportunity. What can I do with content? What can I do with paid advertising? What can I do with promotion? What can I do? And you're just cold email. Oh my God, cold calling. I should be doing more public speaking. I mean, you're chasing opportunities now, right? You're chasing things now. You degraded, right? You degraded from this company that seemed to be working well, things were going fine, to now you're a company just chasing opportunity. What happened, right? So what happened? You never had a lead generation system in the beginning. You never had a dependable process in the beginning. You were profitable in the beginning. You made a couple of phone calls, got some business. You called a few friends, got some business. You had an existing network, got some business. But you never actually had a lead generation process. And by the time you realize that you need one, you're in a panic state. And in that panic state, it's hard to make good decisions. It doesn't matter who you are. Once you go to that mental place of panic, it's very hard to make good decisions. It happens to the best of us. It happens to a lot of agencies. There are a lot of agencies, big and small, that over depend on referrals. It's how things have always worked. But then when one or two things doesn't go the way you want, the entire business changes. This is real. And there's some folks watching this, and maybe it's you watching this right now, and that there's a knot that showed up in your stomach because you've just been called out. You know that you don't have a lead generation process. You know that you never had one. You know, you never really thought about having one. But you can see over the horizon that you're one bad piece of news away. You're one bad event away. One thing doesn't go your way, and your whole business is going to have to change. You're going to find yourself chasing opportunities. That just stinks. Okay. So let's move to the next, right, Emily? Let's move to the next. So, by the way, right, let's just do this. If you're over that and you want to fix that, and you want to make lead generation systematic in your business, you actually want to solve for that problem, then there's a link that you can click in this video right now, up, down, left, right, that will allow you to book some time on my calendar, and we can talk about the program that I offer. What we've been doing specifically inside the program lately is focusing on LinkedIn and using LinkedIn as a lead generation source for your kind of company. You sell to businesses are on LinkedIn, right? And so we want to help you leverage LinkedIn. For sanity, there are some things you're going to have to do inside your company so that LinkedIn can work for you. It's not some magic silver bullet. We don't talk like that here. So there's some things you've got to do strategically inside your business to make LinkedIn work. The program covers all of those things. So again, the intention is to give you lead generation. If you want to do that and that is time for that, click the button, choose your time. Let's have a conversation. Let's fix that problem for you. Okay. So now we're into thing number two here we want to talk about today. So we want to talk about the kinds of leads that you are currently attracting, right? So if we're honest about lead generation, you work on little bitty projects that are $200. You work on some decent projects that are $2,000 to $5,000. And every now and again, you get a chance to work on a big project that's $20,000 or maybe even more, $50,000 or $100,000. But in one day, you could go from having a $200 conversation to a $2,000 conversation. I mean, in one day, you can go from having little bitty scope conversation of services to having this real big conversation scope of services. The leads that you're currently getting in are all over the place. Okay. The type of problem you're solving for those companies are all over the place. So some companies want, an email written. Some companies want a web page done. Some companies want a video done. Other companies want a lead generation page plus a video plus the email copy written. Some companies only want a logo done. Some companies want a logo that can be used in multiple formats. Some companies want content written, but they only want one piece of it. Some companies want the entire ebook plus a webinar, plus, you get it, right? In one day, You could be having all different types of scope conversations, addressing all different types of problems. Okay? The kind of companies you talk to, their level of savvy about digital marketing ranges. Some people call up and go, hey, what can you do for us? Other people call up and say, no, we need SEO done in this very specific way because we want to rank this specific page for a very specific product because we're trying to raise our sales in a very specific amount in a specific time period. Then you get people in between that who just say, I need to make some more sales and I'm hoping digital marketing can help. The kinds of conversations you're having are all over the place. The level of savvy with the kinds of people that you work with are all over the place. Whose fault is that? Time out. Hold on. Whose fault is that? Why is that happening to you? Why is that your experience? Why are those conversations all over the place? Why are you having so much trouble trying to manage and differentiate those conversations? Whose fault is that? Emily, cue us for the next agenda item. Whose fault is that? Can we be honest, person to person? It's your fault. It's your business. You're the person that hung a shingle up. You're the person that messages and created the website or had the website created. You're the person that writes the content, writes the copy, or had the copy written. You're the person that if you're not doing this work yourself, you're authorizing to have it done. All this is done by your design. So you get these leads from different types of companies, different types of problems with different levels of savvy. Whose fault is that? I mean, like, for real, seriously, whose fault is that? It's person to person. It's your fault. It's your fault. You got to do lead generation differently. You have to do lead generation differently. Okay, so next part about lead generation, right? Nothing is scalable. Nothing repeats. What do I mean? You ever had a conversation or a series of conversations with the potential client, and you're at meeting 3, you're at meeting 5, you're at meeting number 9 with this potential client. And every time you go into the meeting room, you're surprised about what today's agenda is. Every time you go into the room, it's like you have to walk into the room first and then figure out what you're talking about. You never feel adequately prepared for the meeting at hand. That's with prospective clients. What about with current clients? People you're already delivering services for. And every time you get on the line with them, every time you talk with them, every time you sit down and have a conversation, here you are again trying to figure out, what are we talking about today? Wait, he brought up that? We don't even do that. Why is he even talking about that? The conversation escapes you every time, right? Every time you have one of these conversations, you get talked into doing work that you don't want to do. Every time you have these dialogues, you go back and forth, prospective client, right? Dialogue, go back and forth, and they ask you for a favor, and you go, fine. And then all of a sudden, this new item gets lumped into your services. You're talking to an existing client, and you thought you were doing the work you said you were going to do. Then they ask you for a favor, and you go, fine. And there it is with this new thing that you did not charge for, you did not bill for, wasn't part of the scope, lumped in to the service. While you're handling all of these different types of conversations, and while you are dealing with these moving parts in all these different offerings, you cannot predict your growth as a company. There are revenue targets that you'd like to hit. There are goals you'd like to meet, but you can't draw a line between where today and tomorrow. You can't draw a straight line between this growth point and that growth point because there are too many moving parts. There are too many unpredictables. There are too many things that feel unsafe. So you can't actually do any of the planning that a leader's supposed to be able to do. Why? Why is that? Why is it that you feel challenged with coming up with the next growth target for your company? Why is it that you feel challenged coming up with the next growth point? I mean, what other way to say it? You can't predict next month's revenue target, or you can't seem to anticipate what revenue is going to be like 3 months or 6 months from now. Why is that? And whose fault is that? Is it the other agency's fault? Is it your employee's fault? Is it the client's fault because they don't get it and they don't pay enough? I think it's your fault. Whose company is it? It's your company, right? Like, seriously, it's your company. Everything that happens in your company is done by your design, right? So either you did it or you had it done by your design. And these are the results inside your company. These are the imperfect results inside your company, right? It's got to be your fault. Who else has that level of authority or responsibility inside your business but you? You're the only person. Okay. Next item, Emily. I'm still talking about lead generation. All of these challenges that happen inside your business are a function of who you attracted and what you sold them. All of these challenges, the different conversations, the scope issues, the delivery issues, the client management issues, the proposal issues, the 3, 4, 5, 6 multiple conversation issues, all of those are a function of who you attracted and what you sold them. So if you design that process better, if you design that process with more intentionality, you'll get a different result. But nobody else can do that but you. There's no other person that can design this process besides you. Okay. So now we're into the next, right? So I'm directly proposing LinkedIn as the place where you should be putting your effort. So again, I talk to a lot of people who run different types of agencies, and everyone's trying to get leads their own way, and et cetera. There's a right, and everybody ends up with the same headache. Everybody's got this 100 ways of doing it, and everyone has the exact same headache. Right? This is the same face, no matter what approach you've taken. You end up with this face, right? So I'm heavily suggesting, recommending that LinkedIn be where you focus your energy. All the energy that you're taking to place here and there and here and there and to do this and that and this and that. Take that good energy and put it in LinkedIn. Let LinkedIn be the place where you focus. Why? Because LinkedIn is designed to be, right, great. LinkedIn is designed to be a social networking platform for business people. I think we already know that, but I think we missed the power of that statement. LinkedIn is designed to be, it's the biggest player in this space, it's designed to be a social networking platform for business people. LinkedIn is designed to facilitate conversations amongst business people. That's what it's for. That's what it's made for. So if you sell services to other businesses, it just makes sense to be involved on the LinkedIn platform. Like, that makes simple sense. Now, as straightforward as that sounds, many people are not doing it. They've got no plan. They've got no plan, no strategy, no even desire to even think about LinkedIn. Okay. Not only is LinkedIn designed to be, not only is it a place for business conversation, it's designed to facilitate conversation. But there are specific tools inside LinkedIn that give you access to the exact person you want to talk to. So not only with the clicks and features and buttons and news feed, all that stuff is there to help get people talking to each other and engaging. Yes. But even deeper inside of LinkedIn, there are very specific tools and opportunities in the software, in the platform, that allow you to get direct access to the exact person you should be talking to. There's no other platform that does that. There's no other platform that gives you that kind of direct access to the person you really and truly want to talk to. Again, this is why you should be on the platform. So Emily, cue us for the next topic item here. This is why we're doing LinkedIn inside my program. This is why I'm pushing my clients and focusing my clients into LinkedIn, because it makes such simple sense and people just aren't doing it. So if that's what you want to do, right? If that's what you want to do, if selling services to businesses is what you want to do, you've got skills and you know those skills have value, and you want help packaging those services so you can put them in front of the right kinds of businesses, I'd like to help you do that. There's a button around here that you can click, pick time on the calendar. We'll talk in detail about your situation, about this program, and how it can help get you there. Okay. Yeah, so Jack is already shouting out LinkedIn, right? He says, I love it. I use it entirely for who I want to talk to. Like that's what it's for, right? That's what it's for. Yeah, thanks, Jack. He also made a point here. Jack asked the question: Should we pay for a link for the premium level of LinkedIn when the upgrade? All right, great. So, do you need LinkedIn Premium? The way that I help my clients use LinkedIn, yes, you need LinkedIn Premium. Can you do it on the free account? Yes, you can find ways to do it on the free account, and you can, but what you end up trying to do is you try to mimic the premium functions on a free account. And we're in the world of selling premium services, right? We're in the world of really solving problems for people, and it's really hard to solve people's problems when you're using secondary tools. So use the right tools, use them the right way, and let's have that conversation. So you can do whatever you want, but the way we talk about using LinkedIn inside the program, the premium tools are mandatory. Okay, so where we are now is right. So let's understand LinkedIn more strategically, right? So we all know what LinkedIn is, but let's kind of get a picture for what it is. For simply what makes LinkedIn work. So LinkedIn, and this is not always true because Jack made a point about customer service issues. LinkedIn is not perfect. Now, it's not a perfect platform. Which platform is perfect, right? So let's get over ourselves about complaining, right? There is no perfect platform. So LinkedIn is not perfect, but it's getting better. And LinkedIn specifically has borrowed functionality from Facebook. There are some things that LinkedIn does that are almost exactly like Facebook, because Facebook has figured out how to create engagement. I think we can all attest to that. LinkedIn has found some very specific functionality and has gotten better and better at creating engagement amongst its audience. So LinkedIn is flat out stealing, frankly, some of the functionality. Here's the basic point here, is that just like on Facebook, you can create a profile. And that profile becomes the hub of how folks learn about who you are, right? You can create this profile. Then what LinkedIn allows you to do is surround that profile with your preferred audience. Who you want to talk to, LinkedIn can specifically put those people around your network. You can connect with them. These are LinkedIn connections. Then LinkedIn gives you functionality to message to those people very specifically. So you can talk about what they want to talk about over and over and over again, right? Always speaking to their problems. And so as you message to those people, you begin to attract them into your business. It becomes easier to have the kind of conversations you want to have. You create the right kind of profile. You surround it with your avatar, surround it with the folks you actually want to communicate to. You actively communicate, and you bring them in for conversation. This wasn't true about LinkedIn maybe a year or two ago. It was kind of goofy to get here. But now LinkedIn does things very specifically that allow for what I just described. Profile, surround it with the right people, message appropriately, bring them in. That can be real. That not can be, it is real. It's happening every day. It's happening every day. So that is, without going into this whole full out LinkedIn training, that is what LinkedIn is doing. That's what they've done to improve their own user interface, their own usability. What I'm yelling, screaming right now is that LinkedIn's not finished. They're going to continue to do more and more things that make it easier to use and easier to communicate. They're trying to facilitate business conversations. I mean, is that a good deal or what? Like, so this is not about something I've invented. It's about where the marketplace is going and what LinkedIn, being the premier B2B social network, is doing to be a part of that trend. Let's keep going, Emily. What's next here? So now let's talk furthermore about LinkedIn's advantages here, and I'm going to be just as direct as I can be about this. So what you got coming here in your feed, really, get it. I heard you, Jack. We're going to come to you here in just a minute. So Emily, in this next topic item here, LinkedIn's advantages, right? So specifically, you can have success on LinkedIn without having to have an established network. So oftentimes where people get stuck, either mentally or practically, is that they don't think they have an established network, or they don't have some list or database to leverage, or some huge social media following, or some incredible amount of website traffic, etc. Right? So those become excuses for not moving forward because you don't have an existing network. LinkedIn doesn't require an existing network. You can have legitimate success on LinkedIn. You can be in communication with the people that you want to be in communication with without having to have this humongous established network. You also don't have to spend any money on advertising. So you can have success on LinkedIn without having to spend money on advertising. So again, that, whether it's $2,000 a month, $5,000 a month, 10 grand a month that other companies spend in active advertising, you don't have to do that to have success on LinkedIn. So that becomes a benefit. Third is that to have success on LinkedIn, you don't have to have it all figured out, so to speak. So we have a lot of conversations inside the group about, what should my service be and what should it look like and how should I do this and how should I do that? Because sometimes we get in this mental trap of I have to have my service completely spelled out, completely understood before I begin to interact with people. And again, you do not have to have all of that stuff spelled out in order to have success on LinkedIn. So you don't have to be perfect in order to have success. So with that, right? So with that, and so Emily, let's cue the next topic about LinkedIn's requirements. Okay, so that what I just described begins to create a fertile ground for opportunity. Frankly, you don't have to have a lot to make LinkedIn work. There isn't this the barriers to entry are low. If you know Porter's 5 Forces, the barriers to entry are lower here. Now, here's what you have to have though. There's some things you got to do to make LinkedIn work in your favor. You've got to have a specific skill that adds value to a business. So we're talking B2B here, right? We're talking to selling to other business people. So that's number one. That's the first part of that. You've got to have a specific skill. So what is, if you're still trying to put your business forward as a generalist company that does, quote unquote, everything. I use the phrase full service. If you're still putting yourself forward as a full service company, you're going to have trouble getting results on LinkedIn. If you, and I know that can be counterintuitive because there are so many things. I talk to people all the time, much like you, who they've got tons of experience. They've done things for a very long time. They had success here. And so LinkedIn, sometimes LinkedIn, some of the training you get on LinkedIn has trained you, has suggested that you take all of your experience and cram it inside your LinkedIn profile. And so inside your profile, you got all this stuff in your profile. because you want folks to appreciate all the work that you've done. Long story short, that becomes intimidating and overwhelming for people. They can't figure it out. They can't get through all that data. Remember, the client doesn't know how to solve their own problem. That's why they're coming to you as an expert. So you asking them to understand all of your expertise is often a non-starter. So it plays to your advantage not to try to communicate all that at once. You've got to have a specific skill that generates value to a business. Second thing is that you've got to dedicate time on LinkedIn on a regular basis if you want to see some benefit. So this is not set and forget, which, by the way, is a horrible promise, because I haven't found a system yet, a process, especially around lead generation, a lead generation process that's set and forget. I haven't found one yet, but we can argue about that later. Specifically about LinkedIn, we were talking about interacting with real people who run real businesses. And you're going to have to engage in some way. And so if you're too busy, you don't have time, blah, 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 blah. If that's how you're thinking, stay off LinkedIn then. Keep doing whatever you're doing that's working for you. Now, LinkedIn doesn't have to be this all day, social media slog, because it can burn your time. Like any other social media platform, it can burn your time. However, 30 focused minutes a day can get you some really good results from the platform. Again, interactions, conversations, engagement, moving towards sales, right? You can be talking to people who have real problems that you can solve for in 30 minutes a day. That becomes real if you approach it the right way. Third here is you got to have a willingness to talk to real people. You've got to be open to talking to real people about your services. Again, there are so many things, and this is a bit of a sidebar, I won't get stuck here, but there are so many things that agencies do to get in the way of conversation. You have clients fill out 14 forms. You make them sit on 3 phone calls. You make them submit all this information. There's all these things agencies have clients do to get in the way of the dialogue. You got to be, don't do that. It creates friction. It gets in the way. What's easier is that you promote the dialogue, but promote the right type of dialogue. Bottom line here, in order to make LinkedIn work for you, you've got to be willing to have conversations with real people. It doesn't have to be this ugly sales call. I'm not talking about this hard-hitting sales call, but you got to be open to engaging with real people the same way you want someone to engage with you. So if it's the human part of this. If you're willing to do that, there are some really strong advantages that show up in your business if you're willing to have that kind of engagement. So made that point. Emily, please cue the next agenda item here. Let me go to, before I jump any further, let me go to, there's a point here that Jack made. So Jack says, I get a response 6 or 7 out of 10 times. It beats email for time to contact. I supplement with email. LinkedIn is the first step. Yeah, right. So Jack's point here is that 6 out of 10 times he gets a response, and he finds that people are open to conversation on LinkedIn, because that's what the program is for. Like that's what not my program, but I mean LinkedIn's program, LinkedIn's software, LinkedIn's platform is designed to facilitate conversation. That is specifically what it's designed to do. So if you use it right, if you use it appropriately, you find yourself having some, being in good conversation, right? And let's go back to the top, because so many people do not have a consistent lead generation system. They do not have a dependable process for creating conversations. They don't have one at all. And so LinkedIn, Jack here is speaking his version of it. It becomes a platform that gives you the opportunity to have regular conversations with your preferred client. All right, cool. So now we're here with the final agenda item here. But do I need a program to figure this out? So you're watching this content, you're hearing what I'm describing, and you're saying, LinkedIn, it ain't that hard, Alzay. Okay, maybe. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, LinkedIn sounds good, I'll figure it out myself. LinkedIn? Why do I need a coaching program to figure that out? So I appreciate that. I appreciate that question. I appreciate that. Truth is that it's harder than it sounds. I do my best in these kind of content pieces to make things straightforward, to make things linear, so that you can see how to use something. You can see how to get through something. You realize that, this problem doesn't have to be big and nasty. There's a way of seeing through it. I try my best in these content pieces to do that. But I also need to be honest and say, just because the line is straight does not mean that the path is easy to cross. So just because I've made it simple or simpler does not mean that it's easy. So LinkedIn has its nuances, period. It has its nuances. There's things you need to know, understand, and be prepared to work through. So that's why the coaching program exists, to give you that perspective. Let me also be honest and say that LinkedIn requires manual work. The way most folks do LinkedIn, it is a very manual process. And what do we know about manual work? It's hard. And that's the first stuff that's the first thing that gets dropped when you get tired, when you get overwhelmed, is you drop the manual work. If you got to type a message in to every single person, if you've got to, respond to everybody individually, if you've got to, it can be really hard. So what the program does by design is systematically take some of that manual work out of the process, to give you some templates, to give you some outlines, to give you the answers, so to speak. So you can just copy and paste them. You don't have to figure it out. You can just copy and paste, right? What it also does is some of these items can be systemized. Some of them automated via software, but some of them can be systemized, put in order, so that again, you don't have to figure out the whole thing by yourself. So this program my program is designed as a program so that you can think through these things deliberately and also get the results you want. But you cannot leverage LinkedIn if you're not willing to think these things through. It requires thoughtfulness. And if you don't have time for that, don't have space for that, I can appreciate that. I'm not going to argue with you about that at all. We all get busy. But if you want LinkedIn to be this lead generation system for you, if you want these results to show up in your business, some thoughtfulness is required. And the only way I know how to help you execute and also help you be thoughtful is to put it inside of a coaching program. So that's why the program exists. That's why I'm in this business. I believe that both are necessary, the thoughtfulness and the execution. All right, great. So cool beans. So that's what I had today as far as content. Lead generation. Again, to summarize all of that good stuff, you need a lead generation process. And oftentimes what I hear, what I see, what I understand inside your business when I talk to people like you is that what's really going on is a break in the lead generation system. There isn't a process at all, or the existing process is weak. And because it's weak, other problems are showing up in your business. Other issues are showing up, and you're fighting the wrong fire. You're solving for the wrong problem. You got to get back to lead generation and make that work. And I believe that for a B2B company, if you sell to businesses, LinkedIn is a place where you should have a presence. And LinkedIn is trying to be that answer for your problem, so to speak, your answer to that question. And so inside my program, I've got this way of helping you better understand LinkedIn, better organize your business so that LinkedIn can be of value to you. Wonderful. There's a link around here somewhere, up, down, left, right, that you can click. You can schedule time on my calendar so that we can figure out if the program that I have can actually get you the momentum that you want. All right. So prior to today, there were some questions that came through. So by the way, so while we're in this moment, right, if you've got your own question, comment, concern, agree, disagree, if you think I am flying crazy, I've jumped off a bridge, you're welcome to tell me that. We can figure that out. I take all comers. All right. So so if you got a question or comment, please go ahead and post that. There's some questions that came in earlier today. Actually, there are more now that I'm here. So I'm going to do my best to tackle the ones that I knew were here. And then I'll try to tackle the few that have showed up in the last 5 minutes as we've done the dialogue here. So Oliver asked a question. He asked the question, do I sell a fixed amount package and have that on my website? All the time. So do I develop a service, put it on my website, price it on my website, have that static? Or should I create a package only having spoken to the client? So here's my response directly to Oliver is you need to have a productized service, a prepackaged solution. Now, there's a very deliberate way I advise that you create that productized service, but in concept for right now, you need to develop a service that you know is a solution. You know that what you have in your hands is a solution. You're not waiting for the client to describe what they want and then build something custom for them. You know that what you have will solve a problem for them. So when you jump on the phone and you're having, or whatever in person, and you're having that dialogue, you can have that kind of conversation. So I recommend that you design a service and put it on your website. Make it clear, right? Tell everybody what you do, be clear about the value proposition, and challenge people to get their problem solved. There you have it. I could over answer that. I won't do that. But so that's good enough for Oliver. Richard asked a question. His question was, if your solutions apply to many different industries, is it best to focus on just one or two industries and become the go-to resource, or is it better to cast a wider net? So here's my direct response to this idea of casting a wider net. Anytime you'd use that phrase, don't. Anytime you find yourself saying, I want to cast a wider net, don't. Anytime you think to yourself, should we cast a wider net? Don't. That's danger. Warning, warning, danger, danger. That phrase is a dangerous phrase. If you look at your own question, Richard, and you're saying, should I focus in and become the go-to resource? Don't you always want to be the go-to resource? Like, who doesn't want to be the go-to resource? So why would you work against being the go-to resource? Do what you got to do to be the go-to resource. Because what happens when you become the go-to resource, when you become known as the problem solver for this particular situation, is that people come to you faster. They say yes faster. They pay faster. And the work gets done faster. Everything is faster when you become the go-to resource. So if what you're after in your company is momentum, if what you're after is, an increase and a spike in sales, being known as a go-to resource only helps. And one of the things that hurts being a go-to resource is intentionally trying to cast a wider net, intentionally trying to work with a broad scope of businesses across a broad scope of regions, across a broad scope of problems. One of the things we do inside the program is we challenge our clients. I challenge my clients to focus, to decide where you can be the go-to resource and build your agency from that beginning, from that seed. Let that be the seed that your business grows from. I think it's so much smarter. It's so much smarter. The rub people feel, and I'm starting to over answer, so I'll wrap this response up and move on. The rub that people feel here is they feel like that by focusing in on a given niche, that they're limiting their opportunities someplace else. And I understand that frustration. But what ends up happening practically is you try to get two things and you don't get any. You try to get two things and you don't get any. You try to get five things and you don't get any. So your effort to cast a broader net, get broader reach, limits your ability to get the one thing that you're after. So I probably have over answered, but that is, I feel strongly about that. I think it's a place where a lot of agencies get stuck. They overthink it and they break their own business because they've thought about it incorrectly. Okay. So Cynthia asked the question, I include pricing on my website, or get them to enter their email to download the pricing, right? So pricing depends on the level of services required. Great. All right. So Cynthia's challenge here is, again, kind of like Oliver, should I just straightforward put what I do on my website and price it, or should I have folks download something in order to get pricing? Okay. So it's okay to not include pricing on your website. That's okay. What I would not do is I would not have them download the pricing model. I wouldn't have them download the different pricing options. That's not how I would think about that. So my orientation and what I suggest that my clients do is think about all of that stuff, what they download, what I put on my website, all that stuff. Think about it from a problem solution orientation. So instead of being worried about your pricing and what your client has to do or prospective client has to do to get your pricing, instead be more thoughtful and be more concerned about the problem your prospective client is trying to address. Why are they on your website in the first place? What are they trying to do as a result of being on your website? And if you want to have them download something, have them download a process, have them download some helpful ideas that would help them resolve that problem. So in other words, help them think through the issue so that they'll be more inspired about interacting with you. Don't just hold your price as ransom. It doesn't resonate the way you like it to. There you go. Have enough. So if Cynthia's live here, she can post a comment. I'm checking for comments here now. If that's enough. So Nelson asked a question a little earlier. Nelson asked, he said, I did a voice consult this morning, and basically what he's describing here is I offer. So Nelson focuses on voice training. Right? He understands voice, tone, projection, all those good things that happen when you communicate with your voice. And he offers those services to businesses. But he learned those services in music, right? Music is his background. So he's having some kind of, how do I shift away from music? That's what I know best, kind of where I learn these things, and shift into offering these services to business people. Okay, so now for where Nelson is right now, given his specific question, solve the problem, Nelson. So your prospective client doesn't care about music versus business versus tone versus pitch. Client doesn't care. Your prospective client uses their voice, and your prospective client is interested in using their voice to get better response from their clientele. Now, I don't know exactly how you focus, Nelson, so I don't know if that's sales conversations, meeting conversations, live presentations, annual stakeholders meetings. I don't know what environment your prospective client is trying to get a problem. I don't know because I don't know. But your prospective client is uninterested in, harmonies and melodies and chord structure. They don't care. What they want is to use their voice to get a better response from their clientele. So make that promise. Make that promise. I can help you get a better response from your clientele with my process, right? That's your communication channel, or that's your communication method or thought process. That's how you should be thinking about that. That sounds hard, that sounds so straightforward. It's harder than it sounds. Making that mental shift out of music into business is harder than it sounds. That's why I've got a program. So not just for Nelson, for anybody else that's having trouble, right? I got these skills, but I'm trying to make them relevant over here. How do I make that shift? How do I develop a program around that or a service around that? That's why the program exists. It's harder than it sounds. So don't judge yourself if you're having some trouble putting it together. It's harder than it sounds. That's why the program exists. So if you want some help with that, book some time. We can talk about it. Let's see if we can get it solved, and see if the program will help you move in that direction. Okay, a few of the questions that popped up here. I realize what time it is, so I'm gonna begin to kind of wind down. So if he's offering us a solution, this is Oliver again. Okay, right. So in other words, if I tell the client that it's $10,000 to solve a given problem, what keeps them from interpreting that to an hourly charge? So in other words, I don't want to get lowballed into an hourly charge, right? I don't want to get lowballed into charging $25 an hour or $45 an hour. I want to be able to price by value. That's the basic point I was making here. I want to be able to price by value. How do I do that? Okay, so Oliver, and this is going to sound like I'm being a broken record. It's really so powerful. Oliver, you focus on the problem. That's your conversation with the prospective client, your interaction, your positioning, your whole framing for this conversation that you have, whether it's via email, in person, on the website, etc., is about the problem facing them. And you're offering to solve that problem, eliminate that issue for X number of dollars. Do you want this problem solved or not? We're going to trade. We're going to trade solution for money. That's our trade. Now, listen, I don't even go any further about that. That's a mental shift you've got to make, right? Is that you got to really deeply focus on the problem. What you'll find is that when you identify the core issue that a client is facing, there's some other very nasty things also attached to it. When you start talking about the problem, you find that they've got this thing and then this other stuff is also happening. So what ends up being the conversation is we're going to solve for this and that other nasty stuff. And once you start talking about that, that price by the hour is out the window. They'll never ask you about that again. They're now concerned. They now see that what you're doing is not just this, but all that other stuff becomes really, really attractive. So, but you've got to make the mental shift first. I'm solving a problem here. I'm trying to solve a problem. Do you want that fixed? Okay. All right. So is that it? Is that all? I think so. There's some other good conversation here, but I don't want to read all that live and try to sort through it because there's some comments that are also here. So where are we now? Let me check the comments again. Thanks, Nelson. I appreciate that. I appreciate that compliment. Oliver said, be a utility. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying your service should be of utility. So not you, because if it's you, you end up trapped in the business you can't get out, right? But you've designed this service, and that service is of utility. It is useful. The service is useful. Now listen, all this stuff sounds really smart while you're watching content and reading emails and all that kind of stuff. Creating these kinds of services is it's a different challenge, everybody. It's a different challenge. You're here live because you enjoy this conversation, you enjoy this content, this level of thinking is resonating with you, right? You enjoy that. Can you picture for just a moment if you're able to have this kind of conversation with your prospective clients? Can you picture for just a moment if you've designed a service that takes your client here in their mind, where they realize we can finally fix this? Man, I've been trying to get this fixed for 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years. Talking to Oliver, talking to Nelson, talking to Jack, I can now finally fix this. I'm so glad we've been in conversation. We can finally get this fixed. When you start feeling that energy, you've got a brand new business. You've got a brand new type of business. But as I started in the very beginning, you've got to design your business. You got to design a client acquisition process, starting there. You got to design a client acquisition process that attracts people into this kind of conversation. Either you've done that or you haven't. And that ends up becoming the hard line. Either you've designed that kind of attraction. Either you've designed a process that brings in people in this way, or you haven't. And the difference is night and day. Oliver says there's a great book called Youtility, worth a read. Excellent, thank you, sir. I'll look into it. So good people, we've been on the line here for almost an hour. A lot of content has been flying around today. If you got to take some time to digest it, please do that. But if it's time for you to just make the decision, fix the problem, get lead generation right inside your business so you can begin to have the right kind of conversations and go in that way, I'd love to help you. But the first thing we should do is talk about it. So please book a time where, click the link, watch the training, whatever it is, book the time on my calendar so that we can talk about this program, overlap with your needs, and move forward aggressively if it's time to do that. It's been a pleasure. I'll see everybody next week. Talk to you soon.